What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Welcome, everybody. It is the 15th of November, 2019. I am Justin, and as always, I'm joined by Perry.
Yeah, hey man, sorry about that. I was thinking my love for you, dude, is just like diarrhea. I can't hold it in.
I appreciate that. It means a
Yeah.
lot. We actually just came from the live stream at the Rum Boys. If you guys aren't subscribed to them on YouTube, you should. Awesome people. I and Perry as well, I believe, both had a couple drinks during that show.
Yeah, it may appear like this is my first beer because it's full. In fact, it is not. It is not my first beer.
Yes, I've had one or two. And then also, it's our Friday episode, so we're drinking on our show. So, wow.
Yeah, sorry to our wives.
Yes. That hopefully they will forgive us one day. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well, because I love the Rum Boys, but priorities here. You can also find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else where you have a podcast.
I had to do that little thing on the Rum Boys. How did I do, by the way?
You nailed it. I think it was just all the years of me throwing it out there.
Years?
Yeah. You've just picked it up naturally,
You're like, go ahead, Perry. I was like, oh, God. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it felt good. I just,
Yeah, I was impressed. I threw it at you to see how it would go, and I'm like, wow, man, he really took that and ran with it.
Good.
We are still giving away a DeAndre Hopkins autographed jersey, so
yes,
make sure you leave a comment. Tell us what kind of beer you're drinking. It's a Friday episode, so speaking of...
If you're not drinking a beer right now, beer right now, leave a suggestion for a beer that we should try. That is what you should comment this week on this episode rather than heads or tails, which only one person did in the last episode.
What did they say?
Tails.
Do you have a coin?
I do not. Who carries change these days?
I know. I also do not. I have a bottle cap.
Yeah, that'll work. Go for it.
All right, let's do it. Who was it, by the way, who commented? Do you know?
I'll have to pull it up, but I do want to give them a shout out, so let's do it.
It's Tails.
It's Tails.
They won?
They're a genius.
I'm giving them something. I don't know what yet, but I'm going to give them something.
Clock Management t-shirt?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, let's see. It was KABVORKA. You know who that is, right?
I do. Yeah, he's getting a Clock Management shirt. Congratulations.
I seriously, I think I've seen that name on our YouTube more than any other name. So thank you very much for the support.
Yeah, he even calls us out when we're wrong on stuff, and I appreciate that too.
Yeah, and to answer your question, spin moves do give more fantasy points, but only in my heart.
Yeah, I actually commented on that. I believe I said that I'm in a spin move, point per spin move league.
Yeah, first of its kind.
Yeah, so it's innovative. We're just on the Rum Boys, as we were talking about. That was a lot of fun. Is live, so that was a new experience.
That was awesome. That was a load of fun.
Yeah, and there's 6 of us on there. It was intense, but I really liked it.
Yeah, it was cool talking, not just about fantasy football, but about basketball as well, and not everybody just agreeing instantly. People, they had opinions that I didn't necessarily see coming on all the topics, and that was fun. It was kind of like actually being on ESPN,
Yeah.
But with beer.
What else new with you, Perry? Have we missed anything in your life?
No,
your life is so much. I feel like your life is so much more exciting than mine.
Well, I don't know about that. We recorded 2 days ago, so I don't have a whole lot new to report.
That's true.
We know where we're moving. We're moving with producer Sean for a few weeks. So looking forward to that, getting to hang out with Sean. He's been a buddy of mine since I was a kid, just like Justin. So it'll be fun kind of getting to hang out with him and his wife a whole lot more. But other than that, man, it's just packing. Been following fantasy football, watching basketball, and just waiting for the next episode of Clock Management.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
So I recently started watching The Mandalorian.
Ooh, yes, I did watch that too.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I mean, I'm going to watch it probably 20 more times before I can form a great opinion of it. But I mean, I was just super excited to watch it. Like,
it was good.
Yeah. It like I felt excited the entire time. I didn't feel disappointed by it, which is nice.
Dude, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but that ending, right? There's questions. I'm like,
new episode tonight.
I know. I'm excited. Did you get Disney Plus or?
So actually, one of the management team sent me their logon information. So thank you for that.
What the duck, dude?
I was going to pass it to you, but I know your brother has a little child and loves Disney.
Yeah, they got it. I have to watch it in the living room, though.
I could pass that to you.
Yeah, pass it to me.
I got you.
Yeah.
We'll do a little flea flicker.
Yeah, okay. I'm ready for that one.
But yeah, so I've been watching that. And then the second piece of news is I smashed the bleep out of my finger at work today. So it's all swollen. And typing up notes for the show has been extremely painful.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I have nothing else to say about that. Do you want the fantasy analysis to that?
No, I do have one other weird thing. Did you see that picture I sent you from my work?
Possibly.
I texted to you earlier today. I mean, I know I'm in the military, so my workday probably is similar to a lot of other people's. Mm-hmm. But I had a very unexpected thing I saw today. I was walking from one building to another, and like people who smoke had made a little smoking area where they had a garbage can that they put the cigarette butts in, whatever. And there was a lawn chair sitting out there, which is already a little bit weird. And then there was a dead porcupine in the garbage can just looking out at the chair.
I literally thought that you just sent that from like Reddit or something.
I saw like, that at work weird. And I'm like, I have to take a picture of this. Why? Like, and why is it looking right at the chair? Like, this is so weird.
The poor porcupine, though.
I know. I don't know the backstory to it. It may have died from old age. It may have had a great life. I don't know.
I hope it had a great life. I hope it won a fantasy championship because it listened to Clock Management.
I like to think so.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, probably not, though, because we didn't have one last year and the championship hasn't happened yet. So maybe
their football seasons are not as long.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
this is starting to
works.
not make any sense. Don't poke holes. All right.
I mean, it is a porcupine. That's what it does. Okay. Well, anyway. Let's get into some football news.
Yeah, let's get into it. I'm sure that anybody that's listening to this has probably seen what happened last night in the Thursday night game. If you haven't, let me explain it to you. Game has 8 seconds left. The Steelers are down 21-7. Mason Rudolph drops back, does a little dump off to the running back. Looks like a completely unassuming play. Pretty much going to end the game. Camera pans back, and Myles Garrett, pass rusher for the Browns, is on top of Mason Rudolph, ripping his helmet off. He then proceeds to be pushed away by a Steelers offensive lineman. Mason Rudolph kind of ran back at him, asking him, like, I'm assuming, what the hell are you doing?
Or maybe just how his day was.
Maybe. We don't know. Myles Garrett then takes a huge swing with the helmet, smacking Mason Rudolph in the top of the head with his own helmet. I mean, let me continue. Marcos Pouncey, another offensive lineman for the Steelers, then starts throwing the fastest punches I think I've ever seen in my life, right into Myles Garrett's face. Myles Garrett falls to the ground with David DeCastro on top of him. I just want to point out David DeCastro did nothing wrong. He actually was trying very hard to end this. He just kind of laid on top of him and didn't let anything happen, while Marcus Pouncey was like
A
kicking
true
at his
offensive
head.
lineman.
Yeah. It was wild. It was wild, Justin. Did you watch it live or did you
Yeah.
just yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I saw it happen and I'm like, oh my God. I was about to turn the TV off because I'm like,
Yeah.
this game's over.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and I'm like, I am so glad I didn't turn the TV off. I mean, not for entertainment standpoint, but because like we do a football podcast, so like I would hate to miss that and then like not know what I'm talking about. But it was so crazy. That may have been the craziest thing I've ever seen, like in football of that nature.
Hands down, man. It was shocking. Like shocking.
He could have killed him.
He could have killed him. And I was talking to Kinsey last night. She's like, "Oh wow, that's crazy. Well, why is that guy punching him?" I was like, "Because he could have killed his quarterback." I mean, it's not crazy, right?
Yeah, especially after the hit that Mason Rudolph took earlier this season to take like a hit with your helmet without a helmet on, obviously.
And it wasn't a graze, right? Like you can see it very clearly. He did hit him with the bottom of the helmet, so just an edge rather than the crown, which is, thank goodness. I think that he would have been out cold because.
And I do want to give a shout out to football players as a whole, because he took that and stayed standing. And in basketball, you get hit on the wrist and you flop.
Yeah. We should know that Mason Rudolph appears to be fine. He's walking. He's up. He didn't draw any blood, so that's good. Surprising. I thought for sure there'd be blood drawn. But,
yeah.
Anyways, let's move into the punishments for this. Myles Garrett is suspended, quote unquote, indefinitely. I think what this is going to turn out to be is the rest of the 2019 season, regular and playoffs, should they make the playoffs, though I believe you and I don't think they will. If they win out, though, it is totally possible in that division. I think the reason they put indefinitely on here is so they made sure to include the playoffs should they make it. I don't think that means he's going into next year with the suspension. Though it is a possibility. Do you think it should have, Justin?
Yeah, like we talked about this earlier on the Rum Boys tonight too. Yeah, I completely I think that's justified. Everything. The only one that I think should have been lesser is Pouncey's, just because I feel like his reaction was completely justified, and because the ref was not stopping it.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, Marcus Pouncey received a 3-game suspension along with a fine. I don't have the exact number on the fines right now. I'm not even sure that they are available at the moment, but I agree with you. I think the 3 games is probably a little bit harsh considering what happened, though I think what the NFL doesn't want people seeing when they watch their games is a guy literally throwing punches. This was like full on punches, and that's
absolutely
it just does not look good for the NFL. Either does a helmet being used as a weapon. So
right.
In a game that was already over, it was clearly over.
It reminded me of Anchorman when he's like, I killed a man. Yeah, you might want to lay low for a little while.
Yeah. I will say I was a fan of Myles Garrett coming into the NFL. I think he's hyper talented. He has 10 sacks in 10 games this season. Obviously, that number is not going up now as he won't play again, but super talented guy. I hope that he comes back and he's a bigger man because of this. I guarantee you he knows the mistake he made. I don't think I may need to tell him any more of how stupid that was, but I don't want his career to end from this one bad thing. But I do think that he will be known forever as the guy that used a helmet as a weapon. Just as Ron Artest is the guy, everybody knows Ron Artest is the guy that climbed up into the stands and started punching people in Detroit. So,
and changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Yeah. So, anyways, fantasy wise, it doesn't really play a huge factor either of these suspensions all that much. Marcus Pouncey is a good offensive lineman, so they are going to miss him if you're running any of the Steelers running backs. Which we'll get into in just a moment with James Conner.
I think the reason why it's a 3-game suspension with him is because in 3 weeks they play the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That could be it, man. I don't like to give the NFL that much credit for being that smart, but hey, man, somebody must have looked at the schedule and made it worked out that way. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. I really don't know how that's going to play out. Obviously, Myles Garrett won't be playing in it, so maybe there won't be a whole lot going on, but I worry about the retaliation from the Steelers side. I don't know, man. It gets dangerous out there when guys literally are trying to hurt each other. So
Yeah.
let's move on here to Matthew Stafford. He's going to miss another game. This sucks. I really thought that he'd be back this week, but his back is still bothering him, so he will not be back. That's unfortunate. Jeff Driscoll is going to lace him up again and go out there and probably put up pretty pedestrian numbers. How do you feel about the wide receiving core for the Lions?
I mean, it obviously hurts. You can't expect great numbers from Kenny Golladay or, I mean, anyone there, Marvin Jones. But I mean,
if you're starting any of them, I'm starting Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, absolutely. Marvin Jones, I think you can't start without Matthew Stafford. What do you think this does with T.J. Hawkinson, though?
I actually think it helps him. Like you and I are both believers in the fact that the tight end is generally a safety blanket for the quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Driscoll's going to need to lean on that a little bit. You know, I don't think he's going to have a huge production day in terms of yards or even touchdowns. But, I mean, a 10 receptions, 70-yard day out of him, if you're playing in any sort of PPR league, that's a pretty good day. So
yeah, I think generally like the quarterback reads are looking at the deeper ball first. Right. As the number one route, and then they're checking down. Obviously, that's why I call it check down. Looking down to these lower yardage targets, like the tight end, who are running routes, and these higher skill level quarterbacks are willing to throw into double coverage. When you're a backup quarterback, you may not feel as confident to make that throw because you don't want to lose your job. So you're going to make the more high percent throw, which is usually a tight end. So I think that when you have backup quarterbacks in, it generally helps the tight end. That's not always the case, but I like it.
Yeah, I think that if he's available in a league due to somebody dropping on a bye week or whatever it may have been, definitely start him. He's a very good option. I also think that the Cowboys defense is a very good streaming option this week with Jeff Driscoll starting. They're already a pretty good pass defense going up against a guy that probably he didn't even think he'd probably be playing this year, as Matthew Stafford had one of the longest streaks in the NFL going into this. So, good luck to Jeff Driscoll. But, stream the Cowboys defense, in my opinion. More about Thursday night game with Juju Smith-Schuster. This does not affect this week now, as the game has already happened, but it's important to note for next week, and I want you guys paying attention to it as we hit the rest of the weekend, Monday, try and find some news on him, and we'll give it to you as we get it. But Juju Smith-Schuster was removed from the game with a concussion. It was a big hit, man, helmet to helmet as he went up to try and catch a ball. Whenever teammates start waving on trainers onto the field like, get out here, hurry, this guy needs you, that scares me. So with concussions, we've talked about it before multiple times. You just never know, right, how long that's going to be. So he could miss next week. Be prepared for that. It's a concussion. I don't really have a whole lot to say. Do you got anything to add?
No, I mean, it just sucks. With Juju, he's been having a down year, and then to add an injury onto that, it's not promising.
Yeah, they lost him early too, and he had 4 targets like early on. Like he could have had a pretty good game. So George Kittle with his knee, he still hasn't been ruled out for Week 11. I think the other day on the show I mentioned be prepared, right? He might miss again. I mentioned last week be prepared, he might miss. Again, my advice is the same. Be prepared. He might miss. Do you know what time they play this weekend?
Oh, I'll look that up, but I think that he's probably gonna miss, just because. Sorry, probably because I think right now it's more just them saying that so the other team doesn't game plan.
Yeah. They are playing the Cardinals, which shouldn't be too much of a tough matchup.
Yeah, I don't think they need him. So I think that's the bigger point is that
Yeah.
why risk rushing him back when he's not even practicing?
I will say they do need to win this game. If they lose this game, they are officially in second place in the division, as the Seahawks have the tiebreaker. But I think they still win this game without Kittle.
Yeah, and they play the Seahawks again. So,
Right.
because the Seahawks have the tiebreaker, I mean, they still play them again later in the season. So,
yeah,
and it's an afternoon game.
Okay, so that makes it even harder to figure out what you're going to do if he's not playing. I say be prepared. Prepare like he is not going to play, and if he does, then you have a pleasant surprise. But I agree with you. I don't think he'll be on the field. Jay Ajayi he visited the Eagles today. I don't really understand.
No, he didn't visit the Eagles. There's new news.
There's new news? Did he sign?
Yes.
Oof. Okay, so this doesn't make any sense.
Right?
I guess the report is that Jordan Howard, that is, suffered a shoulder injury, but man, they've got too many running backs as it is. This doesn't make any sense to me. They had Jay Ajayi before, it didn't work. Miles Sanders should just be the guy getting the ball right now with Jordan Howard hurt. This sucks.
Yeah.
I have Miles Sanders on my bench, but that scares me now.
What's his name? Darren Sproles just got moved to IR.
But is Jay Ajayi really a replacement for Darren Sproles?
No, but they love that running back by committee there. So I think they are just like, let's replace him with another running back.
Hey, Eagles, Philadelphia, it's not working.
Yeah, stop it. Bad.
It's not
bad
working.
Eagle.
Anyways, the reason I bring it up is the Miles Sanders situation and the Jordan Howard situation. I think people
hurts both of them.
Yeah, people have been starting them in fantasy, and I think right now those numbers could be going down. Be prepared for that. It could just be a depth signing, right? They could just be signing for depth. He knows the system, and that's why they're like, hey, we'll get him in here. We'll give him 3 or 4 carries a game, but who knows? Just be prepared that might hurt.
And the biggest fear is those 3 or 4 carries may come in the red zone.
Yeah, no kidding. That is where Jordan Howard was making his fantasy, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Making the
Points,
butter?
Money, butter, meat.
Butter, meat. Yeah, we'll call it butter. He's making the butter there. Devontae Freeman is ruled out for week 11. I don't think this is any surprise to anybody. As Hill has been the guy that we've been saying, Brian Hill that is, to pick up this week. I think that people are a little too shy on Brian Hill, to be completely honest with you.
I agree with you.
I think he's going to get the work. I think he is going to be relevant just based on opportunity.
Yeah.
So
opportunity beats talent.
Absolutely, every single time. I mean, look at Leonard Fournette. Now,
look at Miles Sanders.
Leonard Fournette is talented. I don't want to say Leonard Fournette's not talented, but Leonard Fournette isn't the best running back ever, right? He just gets the ball like 30 times a game and does something with it. So Brian Hill, I mean, if he gives you a fraction, or let's say he gives you 2/3 of what Leonard Fournette's been doing all season, you're probably going to be happy with a guy that you just picked up off waivers. So I'm definitely starting Brian Hill if I got him. And if he's available, I'm going to pick him up. And depending on my team, I'm going to start him. Devontae Freeman, one of the arguments that was made on the show we just did was that Brian Hill's no Devontae Freeman. And then your response was Devontae Freeman is no Devontae Freeman. And that is absolutely right. Devontae Freeman has been pretty bad all season, very unreliable in fantasy. And I honestly think Brian Hill might be more reliable. So
I know it's sad to think that because, people, especially if you've been playing fantasy for a few years, you have this memory of Devonta Freeman of being a top 5 running back. That is not him.
I picked him, man. I picked him his rookie year. I called it. Tevin Coleman was there. Tevin Coleman got hurt. Devontae Freeman stepped up, number 1 running back in fantasy. So Oh shoot, I'm sorry. This should have been a news nobody cares about. Whatever, I'll cover it now. AJ Green ruled out week 11. Um, Chase Edmonds hamstring is ruled out for week 11. That I mean, it's we
This,
kind of knew this was
yeah, this
coming.
more upsetting to me than AJ Green though.
No, the AJ Green stuff is just a joke at this point. That guy's not
Yeah,
playing again this season.
don't say that.
He's not playing again this
I
season.
know, but I'm out of ad drops in our main league, and I have him on my team, so I need him to play.
That's rough, dude. That's rough. He's gonna miss his third consecutive game. David Johnson, Kenyon Drake. Who you starting? Pick one.
Out of which ones? I'm sorry.
David Johnson or Kenyon Drake?
Oh, Kenyon Drake. I'm not. I don't like that, but I'm starting Kenyon Drake until David Johnson can prove to me that he can play more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. For some reason, I just want to say David Johnson.
Yeah,
But,
because
but
it's David Johnson, and it's a Devonta Freeman issue.
yeah, I think my opinion right now on David Johnson is maybe try and trade him. Hope that he gets a touchdown this week and trade him off that touchdown. I really don't want anything to do with this Arizona backfield. Le'Veon Bell is questionable for Week 11. He's got a rib, a knee, and an ankle injury. This is kind of what I was alluding to at the start of the season with the fact that he's getting all this work. I think you and I were talking about it. The first game, he played every single snap, or every single one but
Yep.
one.
No, all of them.
Right. And I was concerned that he wouldn't be able to hold up. Well, okay, his ribs, his knee, and his ankle are all bothering him. I do think he'll play.
He's good. He could continue to carry that load. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about those.
Yeah. He does have a 10 a.m. kickoff, so you have lots of options to play with there. Just make sure that you're following us on Twitter, so we'll alert you right away if in fact he is not going to play, and you can throw somebody else into your lineup. And that's all the news I had to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got some news no one cares. Well, first, before we get into the news no one cares about, one more piece of news that we did not cover. We are now officially part of the Rum Boys network. Should have covered that at the beginning of the show. Thanks, Rum Boys. Got us
Oops.
drunk.
Yeah, this is your fault. This is your fault.
See how I turned that around? But yeah,
Never-
so we're part of the Rum Boys Fantasy Network now. So we'll be on their website. Make sure you go to their website.
Yeah.
You'll be able to catch us there, and we'll be posting articles and videos on there, and interact with us. And make sure you check out the other articles on there. They have a lot of good information for every or every type of sports.
Exactly. If you're like me and you just love sports, right? Obviously, I love football. I follow football like it's an addiction because it's an addiction. But I love basketball. I love baseball. I love golf, man. So I love sports. And if you're like
UFC, they cover everything.
yes, go check it out. Go check out not just us. Of course, check out us. Let them know we sent you. But check out everything else they got going on over there. They're working really hard to build something special, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, the exciting thing to me about them is like the way they're building a network. So it's you got a bunch of fantasy podcasters working together over there that all have different niches, and we're the fantasy football experts over there. So they got writers and stuff that also do fantasy football, but we do our podcast, so we're a little bit different. But it's just great because we all support each other and we work together. Some of them will come on here and they'll talk. It'll be a great time.
Absolutely.
But let's get into some news no one cares about, because that's what you all came for.
That's the only reason I'm here, to be completely honest with you.
All right, so I'm going to start out. ESPN had an article on there labeled Freddie Kitchens, 8 Facts You Need to Know.
No.
I'm going to give you one. He's 4-6. That's it.
He was 3-6, man.
Yeah, that wasn't one of their facts, by the way.
Before he had 4-6, he had a player dome somebody else with a helmet. So
Right. Oh man. And then sticking with the same teams.
I've got another Freddie Kitchen fact. Is that okay?
Yeah, hit it.
Yeah, they're the most penalized team in the league by 15 penalties.
That's
They have
impressive.
15 more than the next highest.
That's
Freddie
like
Kitchens,
3 games.
you're really keeping a tight ship there, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job.
Uh, Juju Smith-Schuster had a quote yesterday. Said, "I will never be Antonio Brown."
Ooh, I thought it was going to be ow my head, but that's a really bad joke.
Yeah, but I like read this and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I can read this in one of two ways. I will never be Antonio Brown, as in I will never be like a drama queen, or I will never be a number one wide receiver.
I mean, it's not just drama queen that I hope he's never.
Yeah.
I hope he's never a possible rapist too.
Yeah. And I hope he never farts in his doctor's face.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I know it's a lot lesser on the range of good to evil.
But still very rude.
Yeah, but still unacceptable.
Yeah.
Anua, he's he's injured.
Quincy?
Yeah, on the Jets.
Yeah.
The wide receiver. Shall I continue?
No, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He was fined $27,000 this week for missing one of his treatments with a doctor, or last week. But that treatment he missed was on Veterans Day because he took his wife out, who's a veteran, to dinner.
Good man.
Yeah, but he lost $27,000 for it.
Worth it.
Yeah, he posted it on Twitter. He was not happy about it. And like, I completely get his point. And he's like, I get that I probably should have notified them sooner that I wasn't, that I was going to do this. He's like, but really? $27,000?
That's crazy. $27,000, really?
Yeah, that's more than how much Myles Garrett is being fined for hitting.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, by $2,000. The team chose this amount, not the NFL, though.
That's crazy.
Right?
Man, okay. That's a whole nother conversation. Let's move on.
Incredible. All right, last piece of news no one cares about, and this may be the most epic. And I know, Perry, we all thought we were done talking about Antonio Brown.
We're never done, apparently.
We are never done. Antonio Brown tweeted out a picture with the caption, "This one's for you, or this one's for you, Mason." And it's a picture from a couple years ago when Antonio Brown was running a kickback, and then the last person to stop him was the Browns kicker, and Antonio Brown Spartan kicked him to the face.
I know exactly where this is going.
Right.
That was amazing. I love that he got a penalty for that, but everybody was happy that he did it.
I owned Antonio Brown that year on my fantasy team, and so like I would have had 7 points if he just took it to the sideline, or 6 points, however many. But I was so happy that like when he did that, I'm like, I don't even care. That is hilarious.
Whoa!
I know.
That's our first duck in a while, right there.
I know.
Ooh.
Right after I said it, I was like, oh, yep, there it is.
Kinsey promised her mom, Linda, shout out, that this was family friendly, Justin.
It is. That's going to be edited out. So,
okay, good.
This is not the Rum Boys show, so it's family friendly.
Family friendly. Bring your kids on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said that.
And that's all the news no one cares about.
All right. Start sit. It is Friday. Start sit.
Yeah. I'm
you ready for this?
I mean, almost. I'm pulling up my notes as we speak.
Okay. You want me to pull up the first one?
Let's do it.
All right. The first start sit question here, some running backs. It is Ronald Jones, the second, versus Kalen Ballage. This is actually a pretty good matchup. I think people actually might be trying to decide between these two guys. You go ahead and go first, man.
Okay. So I was looking at this one, and I had one person selected that just off my gut, and then I ended up going with the other one.
Ooh. Okay. Can I try and call it?
Yeah.
Okay. Your gut was Ronald Jones, but you ended up going with Balazs.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
You too, man.
Yeah, my gut was telling me Ronald Jones till I started looking up the numbers on these guys and like doing my dive into them. But Balazs he has so much more volume.
Exactly.
Ronald Jones, I think, had 11 carries last week. If my memory serves me, I didn't write it down.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and so they keep talking about feeding Ronald Jones the ball. They just aren't doing it. So Balazs, you don't hear anything, probably because he plays for Miami, but he's just getting the volume. Yeah, I think he finally hit double-digit carries, and the number was 20. Like, it's looking good. It just he's getting the carries, so I got to go with Balazs here.
Oh boy. Okay, so my gut said Ronald Jones, and then I shifted to Balazs, and now I think I'm going to shift back to Jones.
Shifty.
And yeah, I am all over the place. Reason being is purely based on matchup. The Buffalo Bills are a legitimate defense, and Kalen Balazs has to play against the Buffalo Bills. I really am worried about the Dolphins' ability to move the ball and get on the goal line. I agree with you 100%. Almost any other matchup, I would pick Kalen Balazs. But I think I'm going to take Ronald Jones against New Orleans just because the matchup is better. And I think, okay, I'll be the guy. They're finally going to buy into it, and they're just going to give him the ball.
I love...
Maybe? Boy.
I love your optimism.
Ronald Jones' ceiling is higher. And I'm playing one of these guys in my flex. I'm going to play for a high ceiling in my flex. I'm going to play Ronald Jones. This week, if this comes up next week, I'm probably taking Kalen Balazs.
All right. Perry, come back to me.
Okay. Sorry. Let's do the next one. You want to go over it? You want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead and list them off. I got mine all listed in weird orders now after my notes.
Okay. Next matchup we're going to talk about is Tyrell Williams versus Michael Gallup.
Yeah, so
2 wide receivers.
I love this. So in my first 2 that I was going to talk about, both of them, I had the same situation where my gut took me one way, and then as I started getting into the numbers, I ended up going with other player. And I love it when this stuff like this happens, just because to me that shows me that I am not as stubborn as sometimes I think I am.
Which is crazy because I think you're very stubborn.
I can be.
We both can, which is weird that we agreed to do this podcast together and argue about our opinions.
Well, that's because we both are stubborn enough to think we're going to convince the other one.
I know.
So let me convince you why Michael Gallup is the right choice here.
Okay.
So Williams has had 3 receptions 5 weeks in a row. I mean, that's consistent. You know,
that is consistent.
That's ridiculously consistent. Not in a good way though, because 3 is not a good number. That's not the number you want.
True.
But
I'm about to ruin that argument. But go on.
Okay. But Gallup, he's not that much better. He's averaging a little over 3 receptions a game. So not a big argument there. Just the fact that you need to realize both of these guys are not great options with the amount of catches they have. But let me see, 3 receptions, same amount. Yeah. But my gut tells me Gallup because Gallup varies. He's able to get more receptions. There's been games he's had a lot of receptions. There's been games he disappears. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could have 7 receptions. And Williams just seems to not want to catch more than 3 balls a game. It defies logic. I've liked Williams. I've advised people to start him in the past. I'm moving away though. I'm going with Gallup here.
So the reason I said that I was going to refute that argument is because you said the last 3 games he had 3 receptions.
No, 5.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Come on, man. I had the setup. I put you there. I put you on the tee. I was ready to tee off. Yeah, it's the last 5 games that he's had 3 receptions.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually also gonna to suggest that you start Michael Gallup. I think that he is a kid that's on the rise. I think he's only gonna get better going forward. And the big thing that you mentioned, and I totally agree with it, is the fact that he's had games with these high target numbers. Uh, Both the matchups are good. Detroit and Cincinnati, they're both good. But I'm going to take Michael Gallup in uh, in Detroit. It is a division game against the Cowboys. This is supposed to be a rivalry. I really think that this is going to be a pretty good game for Michael Gallup. So I'm going to take Michael Gallup. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I like to look at the quarterback play. Like they both have bad, like or great matchups,
Yeah.
and Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Carr, so I think
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oof. David Carr, Derek Carr, I don't care who it is. No, thank you. Uh,
I agree. Yeah, any sort of Carr, no.
okay, let's go into the next matchup here. Another set of wide receivers. That is Jamison Crowder versus Zach Pascal. Justin, who you got?
So for me, I'm going with Jamison Crowder for this one. This was one of the easier ones for me. He has a lot, like he's a target monster there for the Jets. It's so if you're in a PPR especially, I think this is more relevant for you. But he's just a target monster there, and they've been leaning on him. His numbers have been great for a couple weeks now. They've improved a lot. He's looking more consistent than he has in the past, which has kind of always been a big knock on him. Is
Yeah.
some weeks he'd do that and then he'd just disappear. So I'm going with Crowder on this one. Pascal, I'm just not willing to commit to yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you when you say this was one of the more easier ones. This was easier for me as well. I think if Zach Pascal hadn't had that 2 touchdown game a few weeks ago, we probably wouldn't even be talking about him right now. Jamison Crowder is playing Washington. It's a great matchup. That defense is not all that great. Jacksonville, Pascal's playing Jacksonville. I think that's a much tougher matchup. So I'm also going to take Jamison Crowder. I think we could get a similar line that we've had the last 2 weeks against Miami and the Giants, which very similar teams performance-wise to the team in Washington. So 80-ish yards and a touchdown. So I also take Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, and just so you guys are, in case you guys are wondering why we may be speaking about these two players, if we both thought this was an easy one, is according to most the fantasy football applications you go onto, these guys are projected nearly identical points.
Exactly.
So that's why we don't always. I would say 99% of the time I don't agree with projections on there because they just kind of they have their own algorithm to figure it out, and they're not very accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's important to know. Projections are almost worthless. Almost worthless. So let's move on to the next one. We got some tight ends to talk about here. Justin, Greg Olsen versus Gerald Everett.
Yeah. So I put this one up here because I realized we haven't talked a lot about tight ends when we do our start sits.
Yeah.
So I thought we should throw some in here.
And this one's an actual possibility.
Yeah.
Somebody could be wondering about this.
Exactly. I feel like this may even be a waiver wire situation with these two guys.
Absolutely.
And for me, this one is Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen. Gerald Everett. I'm sorry. Too many beers. Gerald Everett threw a curveball there. See?
Yeah.
Gerald Everett. He hasn't been. I mean, tight ends this year haven't been consistent as a whole, but he does seem to get a large target share in general.
He's had weeks, certainly.
Yeah. And they're going up against Chicago. Chicago has really good defensive backs, which kind of helps the tight end position. So I could see him getting a few more targets than normal, but he has weeks where he's getting 12, 11, 10 targets in a game. Those are great numbers. So I'm going with him. Olsen, I just don't feel confident in that Panthers offense if your name isn't Christian McCaffrey.
So I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. I know you mentioned Chicago, the DBs being very good and that helping out with the tight end, but the Panthers are playing Atlanta, which is the worst pass defense in the league, and I really think that they're going to lean on Greg Olsen here. So I'm going to actually go with Greg Olsen. But this one's really close for me. I like Gerald Everett a lot. I think Gerald Everett probably finds the end zone this week, but it could be like 3 receptions for 25 yards and a touchdown. And Greg Olsen could be closer to what he had last week, which was 8 receptions for 98 yards. It's really, really close to me. I think they might end up being like back-to-back in the overall fantasy scoring, but I have to pick one, so I'm going to pick Greg Olsen.
Yeah, I personally, I just think that the wide receivers for the Panthers are going to have a big week. I like both of them this week. I mean, because obviously they have a great matchup, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But I do think that hurts. Will take some of those touchdowns, opportunities away from Olsen. That's more like help guide my decision to Everett. But yeah,
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. This is a flex matchup question here. It's running back Le'Veon Bell versus wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Fantasy Pros has this one as a very lopsided. It's not that lopsided in my opinion. What do you think, bud?
no. So this one. So first of all, Cooper Kupp last week.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't have a great week.
No, you did not.
uh, which is an understatement. And Le'Veon Bell's also injured. So this one, I feel like that's what makes this a much closer discussion than where fantasy pros or most people are talking. And I'm going with Cooper Kupp on this one. I like Le'Veon Bell, but Cooper Kupp is healthy. Le'Veon Bell is dealing with, as you talked about in our news, an assortment of injuries. He has a grab bag of injuries currently.
Grab bag.
And he so I mean I like him, and he's gonna get carries, but does he get 4 carries and leave the game with an injury? As any one of those things is could knock him out of the game. So I gotta go with Kupp here.
Okay. I'm going to cheat because this is my show, along with your show, but it's also my show, so I can make the rules too. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell, assuming Le'Veon Bell starts. Now, hear me out. Le'Veon Bell's matchup against Washington is juicy, juicy, juicy.
Yeah.
If he plays, I think he's going to do well. He's going to do probably 120 overall yards and a touchdown if he plays. If he doesn't play, then obviously Kupp is the guy I'd go with. But it's not super obvious. I honestly think Cooper Kupp's going to have an okay day. I think he's probably pretty pissed about his 4 targets, 0 catch performance against Pittsburgh. But Cooper Kupp has performed really well against bad defenses and really poorly against good defenses. So I'm going to go Lev Bell, assuming he starts. You just need to pay attention whether or not he is going to start or going to play at all against Washington.
Yeah. I mean, I that matchup is amazing. So.
Okay, let's move on here to another set of running backs. We just talked about Le'Veon Bell, but he is in this question as well because people might be wondering this. It's Le'Veon Bell versus Tevin Coleman, and this one is closer on some of these consensus rankings. What do you think?
Yeah, I know. For me, this is an easy Tevin Coleman choice. again for the same reason. So with Le'Veon Bell being questionable, but I think even if he's healthy, I'm still going with Coleman here. Uh, the the 49ers have multiple banged up pass catchers. Like I said, I don't think Kittle's playing. I don't think Sanders may or may not play. I don't think he will, but he might. Even if he does, he's not going to be at 100%. And then also behind Coleman, help me out.
Matt Breida?
Matt Breida's injured. He's out for 3 weeks with another high ankle sprain. So that really Mozart's going to come in, but Coleman's definitely going to see a few extra carries because of that, and that offense is going to lean on him. So I think he's going to get a lot of carries against Carolina. Those game scripts.
Arizona.
Yeah, sorry, Arizona. And those game scripts with them are usually low-scoring games with lots of rushing. So I'm going with him. I think he finds the end zone a couple times.
So I know I just talked about that juicy matchup with Le'Veon Bell in Washington, but I mean, I'm not that scared of Arizona.
No.
And I'm going to take Tevin Coleman as well. I don't think Tevin Coleman's going to have like a monumental day, but I do think it's probably going to be better than Lev Bell. We're about the same.
I think he finds himself in low RB1 numbers.
12-team league, sure. I think he's probably going to hit between 9 and 12. So that would make him an RB1 in 12-team leagues. That's where I have him at least. Lev Bell might not even play. So me giving you advice right now, if you want I don't care, I'm picking a guy right now. I'm picking Tevin Coleman against Arizona. I don't think you're going to be super disappointed either way if you play him, right? If Lev Bell does beat him, I think he only beats him by like a point. But yeah. Lev Bell might not even play. So
yeah, exactly. So the much higher, like if you want to risk getting one more point for the chance of getting 0 points, yeah, go with Lev Bell. But
did you think, Justin, that we'd be talking about comparing these two players at the start of the season?
Absolutely, Perry, because I am a fantasy guru. No,
yeah.
I didn't.
Okay, let's move on to the next one here. We got some wide receivers to talk about. It's one guy I know you really like, so this should be an interesting one. It is wide receiver DJ Moore versus wide receiver John Brown.
Yeah, so both these guys have great matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually love both these guys. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Like I've spoken a lot about my love for John Brown. I haven't spoken that much since the beginning of, I think, before preseason, really. Last time I talked about DJ Moore. That's upsetting. But I'm actually going with DJ Moore here because he does have the good matchup. He hasn't been getting touchdowns like for his entire career. It's kind of become a shtick of his. He should knock it off. It's not funny at this point. But I think he finally, I think he finds the end zone this week against the Atlanta defense. So I look forward to that.
Okay. I'm gonna go with John Brown. And it's super, super close.
Yeah, I love both of them.
Yeah, this is a really close week. I'd actually start both of them if I owned both of them. Obviously roster dependent, but I think you're okay if you start both these guys this week. Miami obviously is terrible. I don't care what they've done the last 2 weeks. They're terrible. Atlanta, probably one of the worst defenses in the league. So there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. I guess I'm just going to rely on John Brown because he's done it longer, but DJ Moore is also very good. But yeah, okay. If I got to hang my hat on one, I'm going to hang my hat on John Brown.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I am as well. I think if you told me you're starting DJ Moore, I'd be like, great, man. Enjoy the points because they're coming.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. Another set of running backs for you, Justin, and that is Brian Hill versus DJ Williams.
I got to go.
Or, excuse me, sorry, Damian Williams.
Yeah,
DJ
Damian.
Williams.
Yeah, I got you.
I just read DJ Moore's name.
Yeah, so Damian Williams, I think the reason why he's high on this list is because, or just in rankings in general, is because McCoy didn't play last week. he is a healthy scratch, and it's scaring people.
Yeah.
The coach has come out and said that it's an age-related thing, that he knows McCoy is not young. So he had planned to give him that week off for a long time.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's a smart thing to do. I think they have one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he understands that, and that's fine. I don't think he's lying to us like a lot of other coaches do. So I think McCoy's going to play. That's going to hurt Williams. And I mean, we were both just talking about Hill's opportunity here.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Hill. He has the opportunity, and I don't know if he is even the less talented player of these two. He could be the more talented player of the two, but he has the better opportunity. So I'm going with him.
Yeah. I'm not going to jump off the train that I've been driving since July or whenever we started this podcast, June. Damian Williams, I do not think he is what everybody wanted him to be, right? Everybody crowned him as a number one running back going into the season. He has not been a number one running back almost at all this season. One game against Minnesota where he had 125 rushing yards and a touchdown. Otherwise, he's been almost completely irrelevant. He's had games, game against Denver, 9 rushes for 7 yards, 2 receptions for -1 yard. That was literally his stat lineup for that game. That is not what I would call a number one running back by any stretch of the imagination. So after that little punching bag moment, I will also be taking Brian Hill. Brian Hill is the only guy there, the only guy right now. He played very well considering he got thrown into the game last week. He got 20 carries, he got 61 yards, 2 targets, 1 reception, 10 yards, and a receiving touchdown. I think you could expect something similar to that, but the yardage number is increasing a little bit.
Okay, Perry, I'm going to take the bat away from you. Stop it. That horse is dead.
It was actually
stop beating him.
I actually ripped Damian Williams' helmet off there and started hitting him with it.
I saw that. You really Myles Garretted him.
That's what we're doing in the NFL now, apparently.
Yeah. All right, we're going to speed through these last two, Perry.
Yeah, let's go quick. We got tight ends. We don't talk about tight ends all the time. We already said that, but I really wanted to throw this one at you. That's O.J. Howard versus Kyle Rudolph.
I don't like you throwing these ones at me. I don't appreciate it, but I'm going with Rudolph in this situation.
Why?
Real quick, just because O.J. Howard is he loves dropping the ball. He's done okay like last week, but he's also done horrible for like a long time. So I'm not going to go off of a small sample size and say that I'm ready to throw him in there.
I agree with you. I drafted O.J. Howard. I had him ranked really high. He's been a complete and total letdown. Do not buy into it. I said it last episode. Do not buy into last week with O.J. Howard. Arizona is terrible against the tight end. I'm starting Kyle Rudolph against Denver 100%.
Perry, Austin Eckler or Stephon Diggs?
Stephon Diggs.
I'm on board with you. I think Melvin Gordon's resecured that backfield, and you're just getting the passing downs from Austin Eckler at this point. And
is Adam Thielen even playing?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's ruled out yet, but I don't think he's playing.
He's out. He's ruled out.
Okay, nice. Well, not nice for him. But Stephon Diggs, I'm going with him. I just think he has the higher upside, and I mean they've started passing the ball finally again in Minnesota. Yeah,
Stephon Diggs is a literal zombie. He was dead to me. He is now not dead to me.
Yeah. He's a little bit faster than most. He's like a World War Z zombie.
Terrifying.
Yeah, super fast.
Yeah. All right, guys, please go check out the Rum Boys, the Rum Boy Network. Check out everything they got. Let them know we sent you. Please comment on this video. Be entered to win a jersey. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that bell so you know when we launch our videos.
That's what I'm talking about, Perry. Look at you.
Love you.
All right, and we'll see you guys on Monday night.
Peace.